Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elle, and today I'm going to be doing a really fun video where I chat about my favorite book from each month of this year. So I saw that Tori and Jess, I think, did this last year, and when I was looking up like end of year content I wanted to do, I thought this would be a fun video to do because I have read some really great books, but I kind of wanted to chat about like one book specifically for each month that I absolutely loved. I also journaled this in my book journal that I have. Here, I'll show it to you guys. It's a Archer and Olive journal. So I have this like cute limited edition one, and it has like pink foiling and stuff. And so I'll journal, and I do not keep up with it as much as I want to, but I'll show you this little spread that I do for like my monthly review of like my favorites. So each month, I'll show it to you guys, I'll put like my favorite book of the month, how many books I read that month. So I wanted to do a video of this because I thought it'd be a fun idea. Sorry, I have to look back at my journal because some of these books I could not find in my stacks. Like I could not find one of the historical romances I wanted to include in this list, so I'll just be putting that up on the screen. But anyways, let's get right into this video. The first book I'm going to talk about is Mile High by Liz Tomforde. I started this series in January, which is the first book, and I just love this book. I feel like each book in the series gets better and better, so like I love this in the moment, but now that I've read all three of the books and one more is on this list as well, I definitely have other favorites than this first book, but I still think this book was really good. So this is a hockey romance, kind of like forced proximity, like dislike two lovers. So the heroine, she is a flight attendant, and she is a flight attendant for the hockey team of like Chicago, and one of the players kind of catches his eye on her and keeps trying to pursue her, which is the hero, and they kind of start doing like a friends with benefits kind of thing, but he's trying to convince her to have more with him, and he is a known like playboy, and it was just really, really good. I really liked this one, and it dealt with a lot of heavy topics, and I just remember really enjoying my read of this, and there were lots of like hockey moments, and each of the books in the series revolves around a different sports. So this one's hockey, the next one's basketball, and then the one after that is, I think, baseball. And so definitely the other two are my favorites, but I still really love this one. This one was 5 stars. So good if you want to start this series. All of the books in the series are amazing. Definitely go read it. Then in February, I read 5 Rounds by Nikki Castle. This is an MMA fighter romance. Hate to love romance. It's super fun, and I'm so excited to continue on with this series. So this first book, our hero and heroine absolutely hate each other, and the heroine is kicked out of her apartment, and she needs somewhere else to live at the moment, and so she begrudgingly is going to stay with her best friend and the hero who she hates, who is his roommate, and the best friend ends up having to go on like a trip for like a couple of weeks, and so they're like by themselves together in this apartment, and they absolutely detest each other. He is an MMA fighter, and she loves like working out in the gym. She's not a fighter, but like she trains in the gym, and I just loved the forced proximity in this one. Super spicy scenes in this one. I just remember loving it. I loved all the hate to love tension. It was just so good. Definitely one of my favorite reads of this year. It was so good. I loved all of like the fighting scenes, like she and him were like training together, and like, you know, I love like in books when they're training together or something, and he like flips her over and he's like on top of her, and she's like all mad, and she like, you know, I just love those scenes in books. So I really love this one, and it is super fun. Definitely one of my favorites of February. Then in March, I read Scoundrel of My Heart by Lorraine Heath, and this book is definitely my favorite historical romance I read this year. It was so good. This is a second chance romance, so and very angsty and best friends brothers romance. So the heroine is looking to find a husband, and this duke is like, if you write a letter to me, I might entertain like you being my potential wife. And so she writes well, she doesn't end up writing him a letter, but she starts talking with the hero about it, and they kind of start forming a friendship. And he is the brother of her best friend, and he kind of like secretly sends the letter in, but she starts falling for him in the process while they're hanging out together. And then something happens where he goes away for like a couple months, and the Duke ends up picking her. And so now she's like stuck in this situation, but she actually loves the hero, and the hero is very hardened from what he went through. And the second chance, very angsty because she can't like publicly humiliate the Duke by saying like, I can't marry you. And it was so freaking good. I loved this book. I think I listened to it on audio maybe. I don't even remember, but this book was incredible. Like, if you want to read a really good angsty second chance historical romance, definitely go pick this one up. It was amazing. And for April, I actually have 2 picks because I loved both of these so much. The first one is The Words by Ashley Jade. This is a second chance rock star romance, and it's super fun. I love this one. It's very angsty and emotional though. So our hero and heroine meet in high school, and the hero's kind of a bad boy. He's still a bad boy throughout this whole book, and the heroine is very much like a good girl, and so he really needs help with tutoring. He has dyslexia, I think, and he's just like failing every test he has, and he needs to pass this like English test, I think. And so she starts tutoring him. They start forming a friendship, and he on the side is working in a band, and they start like writing songs together, but something happens where he leaves, and she's absolutely devastated and like hates him now. So now flash forward a couple years later, and he is a super famous rock star, but he is dealing with a lot at the moment like substance abuse, and he needs a sober companion. And every single sober companion he's had before, he's either slept with or gotten fired. And so his team is like, we need to find somebody, and that's when the heroine comes in, and they're like, we will pay you a ton of money if you are his sober companion. Like, we know that you won't sleep with him or whatever, be fired from him, like get fired because we know you hate him so much. So she agrees, and it is very, very angsty second chance. So you're both so angry at each other, but they both still love each other so much. And it was so good. I absolutely devoured this book in like 2 days, and it is massive. It was freaking amazing. I love this book. Definitely a favorite of the year. Then the other book I have to mention is Echoes of You by Catherine Cowles. This is the second book in the Lost and Found series, and it is amazing. It is a friends to lovers small town romance with suspense in it. So our heroine is on the run from her ex-fiance. She is coming back to the small town that she grew up in to escape and get away from her abusive ex-fiance. And that's when she runs into the hero, who they were childhood best friends, and he starts like helping her and makes her, and I think he's also like a police officer or sheriff or something. And so they kind of reignite their friendship and their feelings still left over. And it is so good. It also has like the who did this to you trope, because he sees like a bruise on her or something, and he's like, who did this to you? I will go and kill them because nobody will hurt you. And I love that in books. I loved this hero so much. Like, Nash is such like a swoon-worthy hero. I just loved him and how protective he was over Maddie. And this book was fantastic. Highly recommend. And I love the suspense element in this one. It was fantastic. And in May, I read Blame It on the Tequila. I cannot find my copy of it right now. I do have a copy of this, but I'll just have to put up a picture on the screen. But this is a second chance rock star romance, another one. And the hero and heroine were also actually a stepbrother, stepsister. And so they kind of started a romance relationship when they were younger, but something happened and they just like don't talk to each other anymore. Like, the heroine is kind of done with the hero, like very upset by what happened in their past. And he is now in a huge rock star band, very, very famous. And her friend, one night, is like on an Instagram live, and they actually get in, like, the friend gets invited on like the rock star band's like Instagram live somehow, and the heroine is there. And then the hero sees the heroine, who he hasn't seen in years, and he is dead set on finding her again and making things right. And so they find her and they ask her to be a co-writer on their tour for, I think, the summer or something, because she actually helped write a bunch of the songs in the beginning of the band. And the hero's like the main, I don't know if he's like the main singer, but he's the main like songwriter, and he's going through a dry spell. Like, he cannot write at the moment, like has no creativity, and so they hire her, and it's forced proximity, second chance. He really has to grovel for her love and affection again, and it is very angsty. Second chance. I just love this one. It was so good. I just remember like gobbling it up and just like enjoying this one so much. In June, I read Fourth Ring by Rebecca Yarros. This one is so popular, but I love it. It's so good. So this is a fantasy romance revolving around a dragon rider academy, and the heroine was never supposed to be a dragon rider, but she is like the last heir of like her mother, I think. Like, she is one of the like last kids, and her mother's like, you have to be a dragon rider, and her mom's like the general of like all of the dragon riders, I think, or something like that. So anyways, she is this very like she's just not meant to be a dragon rider. Like, she was going to be a scribe and work in the library, so she really has to like fight for her life literally in this book, and I love that. And she starts hearing like mysterious things happening, and the hero is like her captain of her squad, and it's a hate to love romance, and it's really, really good. Lots of like dragon content, which I've never really read like a fantasy romance with dragons before, and this one was amazing. I did not love Iron Flame that much, but this book is incredible. The romance is really good. It's like slow burn, and I like really, really enjoyed this one. Then I had to include Reckless in my June pick of favorites because this book is so good. Like, Theo, oh my gosh, like he just makes me melt with like giddiness, and I just love him so much. So this is a surprise baby, like secret, not really, I guess secret baby pregnancy thing. And so Theo and Winter meet, and they both like really don't like each other at first. She is a doctor, very city girl, and he is a cowboy. And she has not like really spoken to her sister, which is Summer. She was the heroine of the first book in a couple of years because her mother really pushed her away from Summer and really divided their relationship. And so now she's visiting Summer. And she and Theo have one night together, and she finds out that she's pregnant. And she thinks that she tells Theo that she's having a baby, and he never responds to her. So it's like a year later, and she has a baby now, and he finally figures out that that is his baby, and he just dives headfirst into being a dad, and it is just so adorable. I love this one. It's like forced proximity a little bit, small town, more like dislike to love, kind of second chance a little bit, but it is just so good. Like, I just love their chemistry. I love them together, and he was always gonna come back to Winter, not even just because they have a baby together. Like, he was even thinking about it before he knew he had a baby with her, and I just love this romance. Amazing. Love this series. So, so good. So for July, I have 2 picks because I cannot decide. The first one is Manacled by Cinlin Yu. This is a Dramoni like fanfic, and it is so freaking good. This is definitely probably my favorite book of the year. Like, I just love this book so much. So if you've never read like Dramoni fanfiction, this is definitely a great book to start off with. So this is like in a world where Harry Potter did not win the war against Voldemort, and now Voldemort rules the wizarding world, and Hermione, she's basically given to this like High Reeve for this like breeding program, because it's kind of like the Handmaid's Tale of like they want her to get pregnant by Draco, but the reasoning behind that is because she has all of these memories, but she can't remember them. They're like locked, like she, I guess, like put them away somehow. I don't really know. I don't really remember. But anyway, she has all of these like repressed memories, and she was like helping Harry and Ron, and so Voldemort wants to know like what those memories are, and they think if she has a baby that will help her get her memories back. And it is so good, and the High Reeve ends up being Draco, and he has to like you know, impregnate her. But the story is so much more than that, and I don't want to like give too much away, but that's like the kind of like vague synopsis of the story. But their romance is freaking amazing. Like, oh my gosh, like I remember reading this book and just, it obliterated me. Like, I loved it so much. It was so freaking good. I mean, it was definitely long at some points, like there were unnecessary things in it, I feel like, but it, like, oh my god, this book was just so freaking good. So definitely go read it if you have not, and if the 1,000 pages scares you, just read it because it is worth it. Then the other book that I loved in July was Glimmers of You by Catherine Cowles. This is a fake dating, small town romance. So the heroine and hero were really good friends when they were younger, but something happened where the hero got really spooked of losing the heroine because she has diabetes, and something happened where she like fainted and they didn't know she had diabetes at the time, and it just really freaked him out. So he kind of has distanced himself away from her, and he's also best friends with her brothers. And so now it's years later and he's back in town, and she has this guy that keeps trying to go on a date with her and like pursue her, and she's like, no, like he just won't get the hint. So at one point she sees the hero and is like, I'm in a relationship with him, like I can't go on a date with you. And so they end up starting to fake date, but they both have real feelings for her, like, I mean for each other. And like he has had feelings for her for years. He's also a billionaire, and it is so freaking good. I love this one so much. I love the hero. He's very grumpy, she's like sunshiny, and I love the suspense in this one. It was just so freaking good. Like, I just love this book so much. For August, I have Unraveling Him by Claire Kingsley. This is a small town romance, and this one's super fun. I love this one. I listened to it on audio. So the heroine is the son of like an infamous like mechanic, and the hero is another mechanic, and he bought a car, like a special like edition car from her dad, and it was actually a stolen car. And so he now detests her and her father's business, but the heroine needs to get away from working with her dad for multiple reasons. One of them is that she finds her best friend in bed with her dad, and she's like, that's disgusting, like I need to get out of here. And her only option is to go to the hero and ask for help. And so in exchange for letting her stay with him, she will help him find this like car that he really, this very rare car that he really wants. So they decide to go on a road trip to get the car, and it's like forced proximity, grumpy sunshine. So good. Like, he is one of the grumpiest heroes I've ever like read about. But I just love this romance so much. It was adorable and just very spicy, small town. It was just so cute. I love this one. It was amazing. Then in September, I read An Earl to Remember by Stacey Reid. This is another amazing historical romance I read this year. So this one is kind of like a retelling of Overboard. So in like Overboard is a movie from the 80s, and in the movie, well, in the book, the hero goes overboard, and the heroine was working for the hero, and the hero was like, I think like an earl. So he's very, very wealthy, and she was working on his yacht, I think. I can't remember if she's like a map maker or something, like she was doing something on the yacht. And he goes overboard, and he does not remember who he is, but he and the heroine had like a moment, like a spicy moment. And when he wakes up, he's like, oh my gosh, like I remember us having that moment together. And she's like, that's not true. And so she blurts out that he is her husband. And so now he has to come back with her to her farm and with her younger sisters and start working on the farm. But he's like, I feel like I am not, like, I feel like I'm a very wealthy person. He's like telling her, and she's like, no, like you're my husband, like it's just so funny. But he like is obsessed with her, and it was so freaking good. I loved it. Such a great historical romance. So many like cute and funny quirky moments of like him like being very protective over her sisters and her, and like working on the farm and like doing chores, and it was just so good. I like absolutely adored this one. In October, my favorite read was Shadows of You by Catherine Cowles. Literally the whole Lost and Found series has been my favorites of the year. Like, they're all so good. This is a single mom romance, like closed off hero, like grumpy hero, kind of recluse hero. And so the heroine and the hero meet in kind of a funny, meet cute. So she rehabilitates like animals and like injured animals, and so she finds this doe, like a baby's ear, and the hero works for Fish and Wildlife, and so he's called onto the scene, and she's like helping the doe, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, this is like a wild animal. And she's like, it's fine. And so that's their first meeting, and she has a daughter, and she has a very turbulent past that she like doesn't want people to really know about. And so there's some suspense with that, and they start hanging out, and it is just so freaking good. I love this book. I loved his relationship with her daughter. Like, he would stand up to her like school bullies, and he just was so protective over them, and just, I love this romance so much. I love a recluse, grumpy hero who people just don't understand, and he just falls head over heels for the heroine. I just love that in books, and this book was perfection. In November, my favorite book was Caught Up by Liz Tumford. This is a nanny, single dad baseball romance. So the heroine is a very acclaimed pastry chef, and she just won one of the most coveted awards in the pastry chef world. But she is feeling a lot of like imposter syndrome, and so she wants to take the summer off to kind of regroup and get her groove back. And so her dad is the manager of the MLB team in Chicago, and he's like, why don't you spend the summer with me? And she's like, okay. And so the hero is a player on the baseball team, and he has a year-old son, and he really needs a nanny. And so the manager of the team was like, well, why doesn't my daughter nanny for you? And he's like, okay, kind of wary about it. And so she starts nannying for him, and she has just such an amazing connection with his son, and they start getting closer and closer, but they're like, we can't cross that line. It's a little bit of an age gap too, I think. And she's like, I'm leaving at the end of the summer, but like, I want to stay with you guys. And it was just so freaking good. I loved all of the moments of her with his son and how she would like bring him to his games, and they were just an adorable couple. I just love this book so freaking much. I love like the angst of like, we can't be together, but I want to be with you so badly, and like, you're leaving soon. It was just amazing. So good. Now I'm filming this when I'm like almost, it's like, I feel like December 20th or something today. So December's not over yet, so I could still read like a favorite of the month, but this is one of my favorites of the month. It was so good. This is called Forbidden Hearts by Corinne Michaels. This book is amazing. This is a nanny single dad romance. So the hero, he has a, I think like 6-year-old daughter, and she is deaf, and they like his co-parenting, like her mom is like leaving for a trip, and so he's taking care of her full time, and he needs a nanny. And so the heroine is the only one in this small town who can sign, and he had another nanny, but it fell through, and he begrudgingly hires her, even though they had a moment where she babysitted for him before, and like the daughter had like an allergic reaction, and so he's like, she's very flighty, like she can't take on being a nanny. And so she proves him wrong, and they keep having this undeniable attraction towards each other and chemistry, and there's an age gap, and it is so good, and there's some mystery of why she all of a sudden like came home, and it was just amazing. I love the audiobook of this one. Zachary Weber narrates it, and it was incredible. It was so freaking good. I love this romance, and I love like the twist at the end of like why she came home mysteriously from like her master's program. And she also is trying to get her master's, I think, in like audiology, to help people who are deaf and like, you know, just technologically advance things and implement more policies for people who are deaf. And I just really love this book, and it was really good, and I highly recommend this one. All right, well, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing me chat about my favorite books of every month of this year, and I cannot wait for all of the end of year content that I have planned. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and definitely down below let me know your favorite reads of the months of 2023. And I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.